The day started like any other. A mountain of emails flooded my inbox before I even had my first sip of coffee. The phone rang nonstop, and my employees came to me with urgent issues, deadlines, and last-minute problems that needed immediate attention. Owning a business meant constantly putting out fires, clients demanding faster deliveries, suppliers failing to meet expectations, and employees who couldn't make a simple decision without my approval. It was exhausting, but it was my life, and despite the stress, I loved what I did. Today seemed no different, or so I thought. By midday, I was buried in meetings, trying to finalize a contract with an important client. My assistant walked in and placed a stack of documents in front of me. "These need your signature by the end of the day, sir," she said with an apologetic smile. I nodded without looking up. "Just leave them on my desk. I'll get to them." I barely had time to breathe, let alone go through more paperwork. My coffee sat untouched, now cold on the side of my desk. I glanced at the clock, 1:42 p.m. Still hours to go before I could even think about heading home. Out of habit, I grabbed my phone and checked for messages. Nothing unusual, just a few emails and a reminder for a meeting later. Everything seemed normal. Then, a few minutes later, my phone buzzed again. A message from Sophia. At first, I didn't think much of it. She rarely texted me during the day unless it was something important. Maybe she needed me to pick up something on my way home. Maybe something happened with the house or her car. Maybe she just wanted to check in. But the moment I opened the message, my stomach tightened. "I can't touch you. I can't kiss you. I don't feel anything anymore." The words stared back at me, cold and final. I blinked. Once. Twice. A third time. My breathing slowed. My heart pounded in my ears. What the hell was this? I sat back in my chair, suddenly feeling lightheaded. The office, the work, the noise outside, everything faded into the background. The only thing I could focus on was that message. My mind raced. Was this some kind of joke? Was she upset about something? Where was this even coming from? We had been together for years. Of course, marriage wasn't always perfect. We had our ups and downs like any couple. But never had she said something like this before. I stared at my phone, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. I wanted to ask her what she meant. I wanted to tell her to stop messing around. But for some reason, my hands wouldn't move. Something inside me told me this wasn't a mistake. She had sent this on purpose. She wanted me to read it. And she wasn't angry. She wasn't apologizing. She wasn't explaining. She was just stating a fact, and that made my stomach turn. "Sir, are you okay?" My assistant's voice snapped me back to reality that I looked up, realizing I had been staring at my phone for way too long. The office was still buzzing around me. Phones ringing, people talking, keyboards clicking, but I felt like I was in a different world now. I forced a breath and sat up straighter. "Yeah, I'm fine." But I wasn't. I was anything but fine. I tried to go back to work, to focus on contracts, meetings, and clients, but my mind was somewhere else. Somewhere darker. Somewhere filled with questions I didn't want to answer. When did she start feeling this way? Was it sudden, or had this been going on for months? Maybe even years? Was there someone else? And why tell me like this in a text? Why not in a conversation? Nothing made sense. Nothing felt real anymore. By 4 p.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I shut my laptop, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. "Sir, you have a meeting at 5, my assistant called after me. "Cancel it," I said, already heading for the door. I needed to go home. I needed to see her. I needed answers. The drive home felt longer than usual. Every red light made me grip the steering wheel harder. Every slow-moving car in front of me made me want to slam on the horn. I needed to see her now. I needed to look her in the eyes and ask her what the hell she meant by that text. Because one thing was certain, after today, nothing would ever be the same again. The drive was a blur, a mess of red lights, impatient honks, and my own thoughts spinning out of control. I gripped the steering wheel, so tightly my knuckles turned white. I kept replaying her message in my head. "I can't touch you. I can't kiss you. I don't feel anything anymore." Those words had cut through me like a knife, and the wound was still bleeding. How long had she been feeling this way? Had this come out of nowhere, or had I been too blind to see it coming? Had she already moved on in her mind? checked out of our marriage while I was still here thinking we were okay? Or worse, was there someone else? The thought made my stomach turn. I needed answers, and I needed them now. When I finally pulled into the driveway, I just sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel, trying to steady my breathing. From the outside, the house looked normal, like nothing had changed. But I knew that was a lie. Everything had already changed. I stepped out of the car and headed inside, my heart pounding in my chest. The second I opened the door, I was met with silence. No greeting, no sounds of cooking, no TV playing in the background. Just emptiness that I stepped inside and shut the door behind me. "Sophia!" I called out, my voice tight. No answer. I walked through the house, my footsteps echoing in the quiet. Then, in the living room, I found her, sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just shattered my entire reality with one text. She didn't even look up when I walked in. That alone made my blood boil. "So," I said, standing across from her, "are you going to explain that text? Or do I have to pretend like I didn't read it?" Sophia finally looked up, but the way she did it, slow, casual, completely unfazed, made me sick. "I don't know what you want me to say," she said, setting her phone down. "Maybe start with why the hell you thought sending me something like that over text was a good idea," I snapped. Sophia sighed, like I was bothering her. Like this was just some inconvenient conversation she didn't want to have. "I wasn't trying to hurt you," she said, her tone flat. I didn't know how else to say it." I let out a dry laugh. "You didn't know how else to say it? Maybe I don't know, to my face? Like a grown adult." Her expression didn't change. There was no guilt, no remorse, just emptiness. And that hit me harder than anything else. "How long?" I asked, my voice quieter now. She frowned. "How long what? How long have you felt this way?" Sophia looked away, pressing her lips together. That was my answer. She had been feeling this way for a long time. Maybe months, maybe even years, and she had never said a word. "So all this time," I said, shaking my head, "you've just been going through the motions? Pretending? Lying to my face?" "I wasn't pretending," she muttered. "I just thought it would pass. Thought it would pass." I repeated, my voice rising. "Do you even hear yourself? You checked out of our marriage, and instead of talking to me, instead of telling me what you were feeling, you just what? Waited to see if your love for me would come back." She shrugged. Like this was some casual inconvenience, and not the end of our marriage. "You don't love me anymore." I didn't ask it as a question. I knew the answer. Sophia inhaled deeply, rubbing her hands together. And then, she delivered the final blow. I don't know if I ever really did. Silence. Pure, deafening silence. I felt like I had just been punched in the chest, like everything inside me had been ripped apart. 4 years, I had believed we were in love, that even when things got tough, there was still something real between us. But now I was realizing that had been a lie. I had been living a lie, fighting for something that never even existed. And now I finally saw the truth. Sophia didn't love me. She never had. And in that moment, standing in front of her, something inside me changed. A cold, calm realization. I was done. Standing in that living room, staring at the woman who had just told me she never really loved me, I felt something inside me break, but not in the way you'd think. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. Instead, I went completely numb. There was no point in arguing. No point in trying to save a marriage that, as it turned out, was never real to begin with. But I wasn't just going to walk away quietly. No. If Sophia wanted to throw away our marriage like garbage, then I was going to make sure she walked away with nothing. And in the USA, I had every legal right to make sure that happened. The first thing I was going to do, the first thing I needed to do, was make sure Sophia couldn't take advantage of me financially. We lived in Florida, where divorce laws followed equitable distribution, meaning assets were divided fairly, but not always equally. I owned our house, purchased before the marriage, solely under my name. My business, founded before we got married. No shared ownership. My car, my savings, my investments, everything major was mine, which meant if we got divorced, she wasn't automatically entitled to half. But that didn't mean she wouldn't try. So that night, after she went asleep, I did what any smart man would do. I called my lawyer. By the next morning, I had a plan. I wasn't just going to leave her, I was going to make her regret ever wasting my time. I met with my attorney, a top-tier divorce lawyer who specialized in protecting high-net-worth men from being taken advantage of. I laid out everything: the text she sent, the conversation where she admitted she never loved me, the fact that she had been emotionally checked out for years. "Do you think she'll fight you on the divorce?" my lawyer asked. I almost laughed. "She doesn't even care enough to fight." He nodded, flipping through some documents. "Good. That makes this easier." We filed immediately. Sophia expected me to stay, even after telling me she didn't love me. She still acted like nothing had changed, like I'd just continue paying the bills, supporting her lifestyle, pretending everything was normal. She had no idea what was coming. I waited for the perfect moment. A few weeks later, when she left for the weekend to visit some friends in Miami, I packed my things and left. I took everything that was mine: my clothes, my electronics, my valuables, important documents, bank statements, insurance papers, everything. Even small things she wouldn't notice right away, just to make it hurt more. Then I canceled everything. The joint accounts, closed. The credit card she used for shopping, gone. The utilities, removed her name. Her access to my health insurance, canceled. By the time she got back, the house was empty. And on the kitchen counter, a manila envelope with divorce papers. I'll never forget the call I got that night. Sophia's name flashed on my phone screen. I let it ring. Then a voicemail. Her voice wasn't calm anymore. It wasn't emotionless. It was panicked. "Daniel, what the hell is this? You just left. You actually got a lawyer. What is wrong with you?" She wasn't expecting me to be serious. She thought I'd stick around, keep providing for her, keep playing the fool. But I was done being the fool. I texted her one sentence. "You said you didn't love me, so now you don't have to pretend anymore." No arguments. No back and forth. Just cold, final silence. When she realized I was serious, she tried to play smart. She went to a divorce lawyer, hoping to squeeze money out of me. But what she didn't know, I had already covered my tracks. No joint assets. No property under both names. No way for her to claim spousal support. Her lawyer must have broken the news because soon enough, she stopped trying to fight. She had no case. She signed the divorce papers and walked away with nothing, just like she deserved. Because the best revenge isn't anger. It isn't getting even. It's moving on. And that's exactly what I did. I focused on my business, grew my wealth even more, got in the best shape of my life, traveled, met new people, lived freely. And Sophia, I didn't hear from her for months. Until one day, she texted me out of nowhere. "Hey, I've been thinking about you. Can we talk?" I laughed, because I knew exactly what that meant. She had realized what she lost. She thought she could come back. She thought I'd be waiting. But I wasn't. I never replied. Because Sophia, she was just a bad decision I erased from my life. And now I was finally free.